Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well and welcome to MAGCAYI'S Maths and Science Academy. Guys, today I will be showing you some steps on how to plot a cubic function when you are given a vector. So let's say, guys, you are given f of x. Let's say you are given f of x, which is equal to negative x cubed minus x squared plus 5x minus 3. Let me remove this. Then this function is divided by a vector, a vector which is equivalent to x minus 1. And please, guys, don't forget that in vector theorem, when you substitute the value of x, just the summary of vector theorem, when you substitute the value of x in this function, for example, in this given vector, let's solve for x here, it will be x minus 1 is equal to 0. Therefore, x here is what? It's 1. Now, let's substitute f of 1. Let's find f of 1. Where there is x, we substitute 1. So it's going to be 1 here minus 1 squared plus 5 times 1 minus 3. Here it's going to be minus 1. Even here it's minus 1 plus 5 minus 3. So this is equivalent to 0. The answer that we are getting here is 0. This simply accentuates that x minus 1, which is a factor of this function, x minus 1 is a factor, x minus 1 is a factor. So I hope you are familiar with vector theorem. Okay, let me erase here. I was just showing you why we are saying x minus 1 is a factor of the given function. Then your second step, okay, your first step, you must take step number 1. Let me write step number 1. Step 1. Step 1, you take the coefficients of x on the given function. So that is your step number 1. So let's take the given. Okay, let me write the steps. You take the coefficient of x. So here, as you can see, the coefficient of x here is what? It's minus 1. There is minus 1 here. Therefore, let's take minus 1. There is minus 1. Here, the coefficient of x here is also minus 1. As you can see, there is minus 1 here. There is minus 1, although we cannot see, but there is minus 1. Take minus 1. Then what about here? The coefficient of x here is what? It's positive 5. The number that is next to x, that is attached to x, we call it a coefficient. So the coefficient of x here is 5, positive 5. Then there is a constant. As you can see, this one is the constant. It's negative 3. Then you divide your table, guys. Let me use another color. So you divide the table like this. Then there is your table. There is your table. After that, you put 0 here. Then you put a plus sign here. Now we are going to start our magic, guys. We're going to start our magic. This method is called synthetic division. Yeah, there is long division, there is inspection, like where you factorize by inspection. But guys, I prefer synthetic division because this one is easy and straightforward compared to long division. Long division, guys, you might get confused during your examination, but this one is just simply and straightforward. And also the examiner doesn't necessarily like ask you to use long division or any of this method. The question here will say like solve for x or find the points of intersections, you see. So you will never come across a question saying use long division. No, you'll never come across that question in your examination. Okay, let's start, guys. Now, here is our game. For this part, you see this layer, or let's call it, this is layer A. This is layer B. For layer B, we add. In other words, we are going to say -1 plus 0 plus 0. So for this part, we're going to say -1 plus 0. Then we get -1 here. Get -1. Then for this part, which is layer A, on layer A, here, we are here. On layer A, we multiply by our x value. Our x value here is what? X is equal to +1. So for this portion, for this part, from here to there, we multiply from here to there, we multiply by our x value. So our x value is what? It's +1. Therefore, I'm going to say -1 times +1. We get -1. The answer here is -1. Again, for this part, which is layer B, we add -1 plus -1. We get what? We get -2. So for this part, from here to there, we are adding. Then from there to here, from there to here, from here to there, we multiply by our x value. We're going to take this one and multiply it by our x value, which is +1. So it will be -2 times +1. Then the answer is what? It's negative. Get -2 here. Then from here to there, we add. Do the same thing. It would be +5 plus -2. This is the same as 5 minus 2, which is equal to +3. Then from here to there, we multiply. From here to there, we multiply by our x value. So it will be 3 times 1, which is equal to +3. Therefore, from here to there, we're going down now. We add. It will be +3 plus 3. I mean -3 plus positive 3, then the answer is what? It's 0. And guys, once you know, like once your answer is not 0 here, just know that you are wrong. You are totally wrong. There is a mistake somewhere that you have made. So you must always end with 0. Okay, let me repeat these steps. I said from here, in order for you to get this answer, you must say -1 plus 0. Then you get this one. Then from here to there, we multiply by our x value. In other words, we are going to take this number that we got when we were adding -1 plus 0. Then we multiply it with our x value. So it's going to be -1 times 1, which is equal to -1. Then from here to there, we add. In other words, from region A, which is layer A, to B, we add. It's going to be a -1 plus -2. I mean -1 plus -1. Then we got -2. Then after that, from here to there, in other words, from B to A, we multiply. It's going to be -2 multiplied by our x value, we get -2. Our x value is 1. So -2 times 1, it's -2. Then from here to there, from A to B, we add. So we're going to say +5 plus -2, we get what? We get +3. Then from here to there, we multiply by our x value. So we're going to say 3 times 1, we get +3. Then -3 plus 3, we get 0. Then guys, once you get 0 here, you will be 100% correct. Now we know. Oh, okay. Before I go there, 0 means nothing, guys. So we won't focus on this box. We are going to exclude this box. We're only going to focus in these 3 boxes. In other words, these are 3 terms. So we go back. Okay, guys. Actually, when you are factorizing a cubic, a polynomial, you convert it to a quadratic equation. So as you can see that we have 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. And we know from a quadratic equation, we state that ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. This is your 0 part. Is equal to 0. Now, let's substitute this part here. In other words, a is the coefficient of x. So a here is going to be what? It's going to be -1. A is going to be -1. So we're going to have -x squared. We don't have to write -1, guys. We don't have to write -1. We know that there is -1 here. So we don't have to do that. Now let's go to B. B is going to be what? -2. The coefficient of x here is going to be -2. So it's going to be -2x. Then what about C? C is going to be +3. The constant is going to be plus 3. You close your brackets, is equal to 0. And guys, you must include your factor. So your factor here is what? It's x minus 1. So your factor is x minus 1. Then after that, we factor this. We factor this x, -x squared minus 2x plus 3. Guys, as you can see that you have minus sign here. So I would advise you, like when you come across something like this, just change the value of a to be positive. Don't factorize when you are having a negative value of a. So we are having negative x squared here minus 2x plus 3, which is equal to 0. So we can simply divide by -1 to eliminate this negative here. So divide by -1, divide by -1, divide by -1. Therefore, the answer is going to be x squared. Negative and negative is positive, then plus 2x. Then negative and negative is going to be negative and positive is going to be negative. So we're going to have -3 here, which is equal to 0. So we can change this to that. Can change this to that. Okay, let me just remove it for the sake of space. Let me just erase here. So it's going to be x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now let's factorize x minus 1. Then we open two brackets. We're going to have x and x, 3 and 1. Then we're going to have positive 3 and minus 1. Therefore, our x value, as you can see that we have x, we have this part is the same as that one, meaning there's something like when you have two factors, when you have two x values that are the same, that simply means your function, in other words, your function, okay, I will show that when I will show you that, like what does it mean. I'll show you as the video goes on. Okay, so our x value here, x is equal to 1, or x is equal to -3. So these are our x values, our points of intersections where our function cuts on the x-axis. Now let's determine the turning point. We're done with x-intercept. We're done with x-intercept. Let's determine the turning point now. Let's determine the turning point. Okay, let's just write down this. We have x which is equal to 1 and x is equal to -3. So these are our points of intersections, or x-intercept. Okay, let me erase, guys. Let me erase. Clear all. Okay, so our x was equal to -3, and our other x was equal to +1. Okay, now let's determine the turning point, TP, turning point, or stationary point. Okay, so we have f of x, which is equal to -x³ minus x squared plus 5x minus 3. So the first thing that you must do when you are determining the turning point, take the derivative of the given function. Like here are the steps, guys. Step number 1. Step 1, you derive. Step 2, you let f prime be equal to 0. be equal to 0. Then step number 3. Step number 3. You solve for x. You can use a quadratic formula, or you can factorize if you have common factor. I mean, you can take out the common factor. Okay, so let's apply these steps. I said the step that you must apply when you want the turning point, you first derive equal to 0. Substitute from the original. When you want the turning point, you first derive equal to 0. Substitute from the original equation. So you derive, you let the f prime, your derivative be equal to 0. Then after that, you solve and substitute the x values from the original equation. So let's apply the step. So our f prime here is going to be negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 5. That was our step number 1. Now let's go to step number 2. We let the derivative, which is f prime, equal to 0. Let me write that. So we are letting the derivative be equal to 0. Let f prime equal to 0. So it's going to be negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 5, which is equal to 0. Then we just use the quadratic formula here. X is equal to minus b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. The value of b, it's negative 2. And please, guys, this negative over here doesn't mean that if we have negative here, we are going to exclude this negative. No, the value of b here is negative. The value of b is negative 2 plus or minus negative 2 whole squared minus 4. Our a, the value of a is what? Negative 3. Then c, it's positive 5, which is equal to, all over 2 times negative 3. So x, it will be equal to, just press your calculator. So when you press that on the calculator, it will be negative negative 2 times 5. Negative 3 times 5 and minus 6. So my first x value is negative 1.667 or minus 10, or x is equal to positive 1. Now we got the x values. We got the x values of the turning point. Now we want the y values. Substitute from the original equation. What is our original equation? Is this one. I'm going to substitute here. I'm going to substitute here. In other words, we are going to determine f of negative 1.67. So let's just do that first. Okay, let me erase this part. Let me erase this part. Okay, this is x. So let's determine f of negative 1.67. So when we're substituting here, let me just do this. Yeah, we're going to have negative 1.67 minus negative 1.67 squared, then plus 5 times negative 1.67, then that is minus 3. I think that was minus 3 here. Okay, now just press that on your calculator. It's going to be negative 1.67 cube minus negative 1.67 squared, then plus 5 times negative 1.67 minus 3. So the answer here, and confirm. The answer here is negative 9.48. So now let's determine f of 1. What is f of 1? We know that f of 1 is 0. We don't have to do that again. F of 1 is just 0. Like when you substitute 1, x value of 1, when you substitute 1, let me use the spotlight. Okay. When you take 1 and substitute here, you're going to get 0. So you don't have to do that again. Now, guys, we have everything that we're going to need to plot a cubic function. We have the x-intercept. We have the turning points. Now, we just left to plot our function. Okay. Let's plot our function. Guys, I have to erase. Okay, let me erase here. Let me erase here. Let me just erase here. Let me erase here. Yeah, almost done. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Now we're going to plot our function. Let me just write these values. So we have it's negative 9 point. Okay. I'm going to write them here. So we have TP. Our TP, we have negative 1.67 is 2, negative 9.48. So this is our first pair. Then our second pair is 1 to 0. Now let's plot our function. So we have a negative 3 somewhere here. Then we have positive 1. We have positive 1 here. I'm plotting the x-intercept, guys. As you can see here, -3, this is our first intercept, x-intercept, then our second x-intercept is x is equal to positive 1. Then positive 1 here. Now let's go to the turning point. We have negative 1.67, which is 1.7, negative 1. Let's say this is negative 1. Negative 1 can be, okay, let me. So negative 1 can be here. Then negative 1.7, negative 1.7 can be somewhere there. So there is negative 1.7. Let me use different color. Then we are going to negative 9. So let's say negative 9.48 somewhere here. And there's, just go down, go down, go down. So you have a point here. You have a point here. Then 1 is to 0. 1 is to 0. 1 is to 0, it's here. There is 1 is to 0. So our function is like this. Our function is like this. Oh, and also guys, please don't forget to determine the y-intercept. Y-intercept from the given function, and it's always 1 mark. It's the last number of the function, which is the constant. So the constant is that is just -3. So -3, -3 can be here, can be here, -3. Then there is our function. Let me throw the structure. Don't mind about my room. There is our function. You are done, guys. You get your full. I think this question is close to 20 marks. Like starting from where you have to determine the x-intercept, y-intercept, all the stuff. So yeah, guys, these are the steps that you must apply when you're plotting a cubic function. If you have any further questions, please you may comment on my YouTube channel, and please don't forget to subscribe for more content. Thank you very much.